All right, I have no idea how this is gonna go. And my phone is literally hanging by electrical tape off a lamp for this camera. First time making a YouTube video. As you can see here, this is BiteForce. It's a Hexbug BiteForce. You know, y'all might recognize it, might have a couple of your own. There's a few differences here. It's actually one major difference. You might see a little funkiness going on, but we'll get to that in a second. So I got these things, you know, I was raised on watching BattleBots. I love robotics, I love engineering, all that types of stuff. And I saw these, you know, I had to have them. I know BiteForce is good. And, you know, I saw on Target, I was like immediately drawn to these. Obviously, they're super cool, funky little toys. You can get a collection, beat the crap out of each other. It's some good stuff, good fun. And I was like, all right, well, how can I make it better? Because this particular one, it's just like the real BiteForce. It's got a spinning spinner. You know, it's got removable pieces. These front wedges come off. Damage, you know, and this top plate comes off, but I don't want to remove that just yet. Also, drives inverted. If it gets flipped, you know, the spinner might be spinning in the wrong direction, but you still got the back wheels driving you. At least you can still control the thing. It's kind of nice. I happen to be a fan of remote control cars, and, you know, a lot of years ago, I was into, you know, small scale remote control cars. I got this this old one called a Losi Micro-T. You can look it up. It's like a 1/32 scale or something super tiny. And it screamed. You know, it was fun for what it was, and I had it for a lot of years, did a lot of stuff to it, beat the crap out of it, and it got to its end of its life. And I was using it for spare parts for another thing that I was working on. And I was looking at it, and I was like, well, I can reveal the top plate here. I was like, well, here's the stock motor that drove the weapon for this BiteForce. I was looking at these motors and I was like, wow, they're mighty similar. And you know, this is about half the size of this motor, but it didn't look like there was going to be too much to get it to fit. And this already hit pretty hard. You know, I was surprised at how strong all of those toys hit. I have a few of them now, a small collection, but this one, being as good as it was, I thought it deserved an upgrade. So it was eating at me for days, this thought, and I finally decided to act on it. I realized that there was a small cradle made of this white plastic, held this in there, and this clear plate that holds down all the gears on top, held down by all the screws. It's the main cover for everything. Sorry for the swaying camera. It really is just hung by electrical tape over a table. But I figured if I just go in there with some nippers, I could nip out some of that cradle, solder these wires onto the correct polarities on this motor, and the shaft size on this motor was, you know, about twice the diameter of the one on this motor. So I just heated it up and centered it as best I could and melted it right on through this little pulley. And lo and behold, you know, with some trimming and with a little bit of persistence here, it all fits back together. This top piece is really kind of messed up. I mean, I did just have a lighter. I did this, you know, in an afternoon with some spare parts and garbage, but let me give her a little test for you. I don't really want to make any of this crap fling right off the table because it really is quite the upgrade. And I don't have a before to compare it to show you guys, but let me just power it on. It all still works exactly the same. So there's a little button underneath. You press it, power's on. You still get your forward, backward, left, right, pivot. And it is four-wheel drive. I'm fairly certain it's the only Hexbug that is still four-wheel drive, maintains from its real-life counterpart. But here's where it gets interesting. Check this out. I mean, they say these toys are, you know, safe to touch and they won't hurt a kid. You know, when you're touching them stock, when you're playing with them stock, they're not going to bite you. But this thing, it really sounds like a dremel or something. And I don't know if you could hear it, but it just kept getting faster and faster. I mean, this motor, it's not one of these little rinky-dink motors. I mean, it's not a big motor. I don't know the size of it, but if you know what a Losi Micro-T is. If you look that up and look up the motor size for that, then you will find this motor. And I mean, it's not the same. I'm sure it doesn't draw the same current. It's not all the same volts and all that, whatever. I just was like, hey, let me solder it up, see what's good, and freaking super glued it in place there. It's just held in with some super glue. This part I had to melt to freaking fit over it. Pardon my French. I'm not really monetized. I don't really upload channels, but I see a lot of these videos about these bots, and none of them are really significantly upgraded. And honestly, this might be the coolest upgrade that I've seen on YouTube thus far. You know, I wasn't even going to make a video, but this thought was bothering me, and I mean, that's just aggressive. That's just straight up aggressive. I mean, let me see if I can throw some keys on here. I mean, it just literally beats the crap out of whatever you put in front of it here. It's quite powerful for a toy. You can't stick your finger in there. You cannot stick your finger in there. It'll hurt. It'll hurt. I mean, that's not a toy anymore. You know, and I'm used to Traxxas. I'm used to, you know, Losi. I'm used to Team Associated. I have a Red Cat. You know, I have a lot of hobby grade RCs, and these are toy grade toys. But, you know, for the performance in a small package, and, you know, the simplicity in here is really something to behold. I mean, it may look complicated, but once you look through that screen and you see those gears working, you know, everything in there, it's a really good understanding. I mean, good to understand that stuff, easy to understand, and, you know, it's spare parts. If this thing breaks, you got a ton of parts in there. You could, I mean, that's just the type of person I am. I like to fiddle, but take a look at that. It was super simple. Took me, you know, an hour, a couple hours. I did have to trim this clear plate around the surrounding of the motor, and I did have to trim back this plastic just a bit because the pulley sits up higher, and I didn't want it to rub, especially with how much faster it spins. This belt, it is belt driven. It's just a little rubber band, so it tends to flap. There's no tensioner in there. I mean, it's just a toy. I really just overpowered the crap out of it, but I mean, it's significant. If you put this up against any of the other stock battle bots, it'll just beat the crap out of it. The only other toy one that I heard was any good was Bronco. Bronco seems to be awesome. I don't have him yet, but he's the one with the flipper. But even then, he's not four-wheel drive, and I mean, I didn't glue that on there. Can I get that? I just melted it right on through the hole. It's not even centered. If I were to spin it, it's not perfectly centered, but it's close enough to where, let me see if I can get that belt flapping. Yeah, you see that? But I mean, it pushes air, and I thought that the axle might break. I am worried after longevity. I mean, it's spinning so fast. It is a metal axle inside of a plastic housing and bushings, so it'll wear through eventually. This will absolutely snap eventually, but, you know, if I run it for a little bit at a time, doing a quick battle, I mean, that's pretty awesome if you ask me. But I encourage y'all to try your hand at some battle bots modifying. I did have to melt this back plate and trim a bunch out of it to get it to fit on here. And it doesn't sit quite perfect still. There's a little gap, but, you know, it's as good as it's gonna get. I mean, I could sand it, make it look more white, but honestly, I kind of like it looking beat up and on fire. I mean, isn't that the point? And you got that big motor sticking out the side. So, yep, y'all have a good day. Thanks for watching, and this is my first upload in years. I don't really make YouTube videos. This is just a quick one I thought I'd show you guys because I haven't seen much about these. So, y'all have a good day.